Welcome to this month's edition of the Clubroom show. I'm joined by my guest Gary McAllister of the Northern Ireland Supporters Club. Padraig McCrory, a professional boxer, will be headlining the SSE Bill on the 1st of November, and from our sponsors AbbeyAutoline, Jack Mitchell. So, as I say, anybody who's at the international match wouldn't expect it a 5-0 victory. I'm sure when you left the house to go to the match, 5-0 wasn't in your thoughts.
No, I was confident we would win the game because I didn't think very much of Bulgaria when we played them out there, even though they beat us. And I watched the first half of their game on Saturday against Luxembourg, which was 0-0, and they weren't a good team. And I just thought, well, we get them at Windsor Park, and we have the crowd behind the team, and if we can get the atmosphere going, you know, I was very confident we'd win the game. Now, I wouldn't have thought we'd have beaten them 5-0, but that performance, I think, has been coming from the younger team that we now have for a while. They just clicked. There's a lot of potential there, and you can see there's a lot of ability, but they just need more experience.
Do you think the average age of the squad, I think it was 23?
Yeah.
Do you think it's a case of it's still in process of getting to that potential, and maybe after the 5-0 people maybe getting a bit too excited?
Yeah, I think you have to certainly enjoy the moment, because I've been going since 1990. I've never seen us win 5-0.
No.
Seen a couple of 4-0s, but never 5.
Never 5.
So you have to enjoy the moment. But I think as well, we can't get too ahead of ourselves, because you don't want to put too much expectation on young players. One thing I would say is that a lot of people were very downcast when we lost players like Dallas and Stephen Davis, and even people like Shane Ferguson, who have been injured for a long time, Connor Washington. But I sort of thought that would be short-term pain, long-term gain, because eventually we were going to get to the point where we couldn't rely on those players anymore, and we were going to have to bring these younger guys through. So it just happened sooner. So actually you have some of these lads now, they've played maybe some of 20 internationals, whereas if we'd have kept on with Davis, Dallas and all those guys, if they'd stayed free from injury, we'd be starting that now. So we're actually a couple of years ahead of where we should actually be.
And you're saying about 5-0 there. The last time, obviously, a player scored a hat-trick was David Haley.
Yeah.
And the last 5-0 victory was back in 1971.
The last home victory.
Yeah,
was
5-0.
Yeah.
And it was like George Best scored a hat-trick that game.
Right.
So he's got himself into a really exclusive club of people that have scored a hat-trick. Going forward, the situation with the Belarus game, what type of outcome can we expect from that, do you think?
I think we just have to wait and see. I mean, I know there are conversations that are happening between the IFA and between different levels of government, and it's really central government in London and the Home Office who make decisions around, around visas. And I know some people have highlighted the issue of Belarusian tennis players participating in Wimbledon.
Yes.
But I think the distinction was made that they were competing as individuals rather than representing the country. And Belarus are a representative team representing their football association, but they're also representing the nation, and I think that's where the sticking point has come up now. You just hope that it will be resolved. I know nothing more than that at this moment in time. I know that people are anxious, but you would hope that there would be common sense, because if Belarus are allowed to enter the competition, then come the World Cup qualifiers, what if we have England, Scotland, Wales, or more than one of the home nations in the same group as Belarus? I think we have to be careful about what precedent we set here, but I would hope the common sense would prevail and we can have the game. It would be a real travesty if we couldn't. And
do you think sort of like the changes like you've brought in, like this new Windsor Roar thing, you're trying to push, you're trying to make the atmosphere a lot better, trying to get more young supporters involved, and sort of the match day atmosphere changing, and these new things you're bringing in to try and make it a far more bigger experience for people attending these games?
Yeah.
So tell us about that.
Well, people had said to us, because I've been spending a lot of time going around our supporters clubs. We've got about 60 clubs in Northern Ireland, and I spent a lot of time over the last couple of years going around as many as I could, just to get feedback, because when we have meetings of what we call, our organisation is called the Amalgamation of Official Northern Ireland Supporters Clubs, you get 2 or 3 people from each club coming to a meeting, so you don't always get to interact with the wider membership. So I've made a point in the last year or two of going around as many as I could, and one of the issues that kept coming up was people wanting us to try and do more to get the spark back. And particularly younger fans, and they sort of recognise us as a sort of figurehead for the Northern Ireland support. And I'm working with a group of maybe 10 or 12, when I say younger fans, the age group is sort of 20s to 30s, and they're really enthusiastic, they're full of good ideas. Obviously we have the right contacts and the ability to try and promote it, and to try and sort of work with the IFA to make it work, but so far it's been very, very positive.
Successful.
Yeah.
And you said about the away games, a lot of planning that goes on behind the scenes to make sure people get there safety, a lot of health and safety, working with the police, working making sure the supporters have a good time. Last month, I think you said it was the worst away game in 27 years.
Yeah.
It had been pretty bad for you to come and say that.
So we operate a thing called the Northern Ireland Fans Embassy.
Yeah.
England have been doing the same thing for their fans since the 1990 World Cup. It's since 2007 we've been doing it at a lower level, but when we qualified for Euros in France, it gave us an opportunity to sort of build that because we had so many people travelling. You know, you're talking maybe something in the region of 30,000 people took in at least one game. So it was a bigger operation for us, but we've continued it on.
Yep.
It's a voluntary service. When we go away, we pay our own expenses to travel for the game. We do have some money that we use for the pre-visit. So next week I'll be in Luxembourg with the IFA. We'll gather all the information, we'll share it with people. But you also need to be available during the course of the away trip. Yep. So if the day before the game I'm probably meeting up with the police, or the police are contacting me, we need to share more information. Bulgaria was a bad away day for us in terms of the experience. Some people didn't have a bad experience, but particularly when we got into the stadium, there was a lock-in, which a holdback is different from a lock-in. We're usually being held back after a match.
That's common.
Yes,
that's common.
But they actually locked the gate to stop people getting on the concourse.
Which is not common.
Which is actually against UEFA safety regulations.
Okay.
Breaches one of the regulations, broke two of the regulations that I'm aware of. But it meant that people couldn't get access to water, they couldn't get out the toilet.
Yeah.
So you've got male and female fans, you've got older people, man, I know they're 69 years of age. I saw 2 primary school age children and they're kept locked in for an hour. You know, it's not acceptable.
No.
Now I've had worse individual experiences in terms of issues we had to deal with. During Euros, unfortunately 2 of our fans died, and that's at a whole different level. But just in terms of match management, it was the worst experience I've had because there were language issues. The FA were trying to help us to get the gates opened, and it took a long time.
So what was the course of action as soon as that happened? What did you say? Right, what's the next step in terms of trying to make sure that type of thing doesn't happen again?
Well, on the night, the first thing was I was on the phone with the FA staff, who then went and spoke to the Bulgarians, and the FA match delegate got involved, and eventually we got the gate open. But it's a follow-up, which is raising awareness about what happened through the media, but also speaking to the IFA, to Football Supporters Europe, who we are affiliated to, and they have a direct line with UEFA themselves. The IFA complained to UEFA, we spoke to PSNI, they went to the UK Football Policing Unit, which helps to manage travel.
A collective approach.
Yes, so there's a collective approach, and we're still following up. Even this week, myself and two of my colleagues from the amalgamation sat down with the IFA and a representative of UEFA, and I know the Football Supporters Group are still following the issue up now. Well, you know, post the event, there's nothing you can do about what has happened, other than trying to find ways to make sure it doesn't happen again, not just in that country, but elsewhere, and also shared information. So Luxembourg were there on Saturday playing, and through the Fans Embassy network, I was able to make contact with the Luxembourg fans representative and pass all the issues on to him to just prepare them. And I'm not aware of any issues, but they had a very small support. But we did 800 or 900 people there.
You want to make sure it's football and there's no boxing outside.
Yeah. Well, thankfully our fans are very restrained. They're very good natured. When they go away, a lot of them are very frustrated. But they were just frustrated because, you know.
And they'd be right to be.
Well, if someone wants to use a toilet, what options do they have? And a guy doesn't really want to stand and even up in the back of the stand, go to the toilet when there's women and children there, or other people.
Of course.
A lot of people just wouldn't be prepared to do that.
Definitely not.
So that's where the frustration came from for a lot of people. But at least they could see that we took it seriously, tried to address it at the time, and we've done everything we possibly could afterwards.
In terms of on the pitch, what do you think is realistic for Northern Ireland going forward? Do you think it's the case of it's still going to take a while? Do you think we'll ever reach them heights of the Euros again? And if so, do you think it's going to be taking a while for to get there?
My own personal opinion is it's trying to find a balance between being realistic and ambitious, but not to the point where it's unrealistic. You know, don't accept mediocrity. No. You know, where you never win and you have no ambition, but shoot for the stars. You know, when we were drawn into the group for the qualifying for 2016, I had a bit of banter on Twitter, as it was with Joel Taggart, and the exchange was, I just said, believe Joel, believe, and he was going, behave Gary, behave. And I went back to him and we qualified and said, I told you to believe. Because the way I looked at it was, we were in a group with, I think it was Romania, Greece, Finland, Hungary, ourselves and the Faroe Islands, and someone said to me, Gary, if you take it that there's a third place available through playoffs, if you say that you'll not get first or second, but look at the other two teams who are competing. So if you've got, let's say, Hungary and Finland, do you think we're good enough at this point to get more points over those two teams and they'll take off us? And I actually believe that, because there were nothing to worry about. Now, we ended up, we won the group.
Of course. Yeah.
But when you look at it that way, you know, if we can win our Nations League group, it gives us an opportunity for World Cup playoff, potentially. So that's another step towards doing something big.
Yeah.
But just balancing out, let's be ambitious, let's get behind the team. But, you know, if we're competing and we're just trying to be encouraging towards our young players, then why not believe? Yeah. But if it doesn't work out, if you don't qualify, it doesn't always need to be a disaster.
No,
you know, with some people it's boom or bust, and I don't think it should be either.
No.
I think it should be somewhere in between.
Somewhere in the middle.
You know, bear in mind the sort of being pragmatic and realising that in terms of even trying to get our players in the highest levels of football in England, we don't really have anybody playing regularly in the Premier League.
At that level.
With Johnny Evans, who's now retired, you know, we don't really have anybody else. We're putting lads from the Scottish Premier League and from the lower leagues in England, and on occasions even still, you know, Irish Premier League players coming in the squad. So you have to...
Something we're not used to.
Yeah, bear all that in mind. But I sort of think, you know, when you're playing teams like Bulgaria, Luxembourg, Belarus, you should have the belief that you can get good results against those teams. I think football's changed a lot, where it's a lot less likely today than it was 30 years ago to go to Germany and draw, or to beat Spain, or to beat England. If you can do it, fantastic. But, you know, let's concentrate on trying to get as many points off the other teams who are looking at us as rivals for doing something.
Win the games we're expected to win.
Yes, well, not expected to win, but win the games that are winnable.
Winnable.
And if you can get something off the big teams,
great.
You know, there's no point, as we once did, drawing with Italy on a Friday night and then going to the Faroe Islands and drawing again.
Counterbalance.
If you lose and you beat the Faroe Islands, you've got 3 points rather than two from 2 draws. So, you know, I think Michael O'Neill's done a lot to change that mindset. And I think those are the type of things that he's done in terms of mentality. His first time around and doing it again now with these younger players, and I think you just have to trust him.
Because he set the bar pretty high for himself from his first stint. He has to go back and say, well, people are like, well, can you do it again? Yeah. It's not the same.
Yeah, you know? And when he came in, I think we run a very poor run of results. I mean, we lost at home and away to Estonia, and we just hadn't had a very good campaign, and fans were losing interest. So he was sort of starting at a low level, but he really had to start over again, and the team he ended with wasn't really the team he started with in terms of getting to the Euros, and he had to build as he went along. There's now the expectation level, but the positive is he's more mature as a coach. He has all that experience behind him, and I think that he doesn't need to win people over.
No.
When a new manager comes in, a lot of people are undecided. When you look at Ian Barclough, a lot of people unfortunately didn't ever buy into Ian and his management in Northern Ireland. So I think, you know, you're always at a disadvantage if you find yourself in that position. But Michael coming back in was sort of seen as a messiah. So he doesn't need to prove himself anyway. No.
He's got the respect of...
He's got the respect, and he's got the respect of players, without doubt.
So no doubt. Well, thanks for talking to me. So on to boxing. A man here, he's going to be live at the SSE Arena, 1st of November, top of the bill. Football fan yourself? Yep. But decided to go down the boxing route. More punishable.
Yeah, I'd much rather play football, but
you are much rather play football.
Good.
But so tell us about the fight build up, sort of your preparation, what a boxer needs to do in the build up of the fight, what sort of things you've had to be going through in order to prepare for the 1st of November.
Yeah, so my last fight was in February, and obviously it's my first defeat, which it wasn't hard it wasn't easy to take, and I kind of didn't do anything for about 4 months. I put on a bit of weight, but I had to make a decision, and at 36 it was either do I continue and why, or do I stop now, and I think the positives must have outweighed a stop on boxing. So I went on holiday in August. There was a talk of a date just before then, so I started preparation. I started to lose a bit of weight, get fit, and then I went on holiday, and for the first time ever, I trained on a family holiday, so because I knew I was coming back to
were they happy with that?
A fight date. finding 60 minutes in a day when you have 3 kids on holiday was extremely difficult.
Yeah.
But I got it done, and from I come home, I've been in the gym 2 to 3 times every day.
And I know people say, at 36, do you have like mapping out in your head 4 more fights left, 5 more fights left, or I know you never look past the opponent in front of you because you never take anything as a given, but do you have it in your head, right? I could probably get fight A. I could probably get 3 or 4 more fights if they all go to plan.
Yeah,
I've got it.
I have an exit plan, and I have a plan if things work out. So I have a plan of 3 fights and rough dates. But just recently, so I'm fighting now in 2 weeks' time.
Yep. And
just recently, I was told that there's early conversations of a fight 6 weeks after.
Right.
All been well on the 1st of November. So in boxing, things can change by a phone call. So it's not like football, like your fixtures. Mm-hmm. I'm fighting here. Ideally, I would like to fight March next year, but if a big opportunity comes between them, then it all changes.
Yeah, because say fighters get injured, things get postponed, people maybe don't make weight, they needed somebody to come in last minute, and if you keep yourself in the right frame of mind, you're there as ready to take advantage of getting in there and getting it done. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I'm kind of at the level now where some of the offers coming are going to be offers that I can't turn down, kind of like financially. Yeah. Once I get back in the wing column, what people want to see, you start to get bigger offers against opponents like previously. And is there anybody you're looking forward to seeing on the undercard? A good packed bill there. Anybody that's going to see a lot of local fighters. Yeah. Is there anybody you're looking forward to seeing, or anybody you think on the undercard there got really good potential? Yeah, I think so. One of the main fights is Kurt Walker. He's in against a Mexican who's 13-1. It's probably his hardest fight to date, so it's going to be interesting. And then I also manage fighters as well as fighting. Okay. There's a guy called Theo Wallen who is from Cookstown, and I manage him, and I'm looking forward to seeing him in his second fight. Is that something after you finish boxing completely you want to go into that sort of role of being manager to younger fighters, coach a lot, get involved in coaching a lot more as well? I don't know about coaching. I don't know if I have the commitment to commit to being a full-time coach, because that's what it takes. But management is different, and I do plan. I started Hammer Boxing about 18 months ago, and I have 3 fighters, soon to be 5, and I do plan and give them more to that after my own career stops. And your journey in boxing, did you start it as an amateur? Did you just go straight into the pro ranks? What was your first memories of boxing? Anybody sort of role models? Do you remember the first fight you ever seen? Do you remember that? So my first fight would have been in the King's Hall, and I always remember Brian McGee fighting, Neil Sinclair as well, and there was a few others. And these are guys that I seen, and it was like, wow, they're pro boxers. They must be. Life must be amazing. Not so. Now that I'm pro boxer now, it's completely different. But my first memory of boxing was when I was about 10 years of age. Me and my brother and my dad went to a boxing club, and we spent about 2 weeks there. And it was I think on our first night, my dad jumped in and sparred his mate, and there was blood everywhere. And I was kind of I don't know if I like this, but then I stopped boxing and I started again at 14. And from then we had a small group of friends that all box together, and one's now my coach. But it's been a great journey. I say you play football, you play rugby, you don't play boxing. You don't go outside. Well, you shouldn't go outside and play boxing, but it happens. It's in the park. Yeah. But in terms of boxing on an amateur level, I've heard about news that boxing not to be included in the LA Olympics. Yeah. How is that going to affect amateur boxing in terms of amateur boxers really live for that moment of becoming an Olympic champion? For boxing not to be included in the Olympics, that's going to be a big blow. Yeah. In terms of not being there. As an amateur boxer, the biggest goal is to reach the games. And if it turns out to be what they're saying, it's a big blow to amateur boxing, because you will lose a lot of really good amateurs to the pros. But I think amateur boxing, especially
in Belfast, we have about 20 clubs within about 5 mile. And around like the small areas, like people thrive and grow up boxing, and like myself, I grew up like on an interface and in West Belfast, and boxing was something that always kept me on the straight and narrow, and knowing that I had to go to the gym to like compete in fights, is something like that drove me, and always dreaming of going to the Olympics.
Yeah.
Was again another reason why I always went to the gym.
Yeah.
So it'd be a massive blow like, for boxing.
So without the Olympics there for an amateur boxer thinking, well, what am I training for here? What is the ultimate? They may stay as an amateur for a very small period of time before saying, look, I'm going to go to pro ranks here and start my pro career earlier, which
exactly.
may not necessarily be a bad thing sometimes.
Exactly. So you have people like Paddy Barnes and stuff, and it's a 4-year cycle. So some people might think I'm going to stay amateur like for these 4 years because I'm going to go to the Olympics.
Yeah.
But now that's away, you'll get them turning pro way before they actually shoot. And the Olympics, again, it's a pinnacle of amateur sports, and it's really unfortunate that they're talking about it not being involved.
Yeah. No thanks. So best of luck on the 1st of November. I'm sure everybody's behind you to get the result you need, and hopefully a lot more fights to come. So I'm joined by Jack Mitchell from AbbeyAutoline. We're going to get to the draw shortly. So we've been, if you've been following us on social media, we've been doing a draw for local clubs in the Ards and Down area to enter the draw for match sponsorship. So it's great to have AbbeyAutoline on board, and they're obviously involved in sport all over Northern Ireland, doing a lot of great work. Yourself, Jack, big football fan. I'm sure you were happy to see that 5-0 victory at Windsor. I'm sure you didn't expect Northern Ireland to win 5-0.
No, again, like I had said, I was quietly confident we were going to win. I had the misfortune of sitting at home watching the Bulgaria game away, and it was a hard watch, as was Belarus away. It was Belarus away.
Yes. Yeah.
And it kind of wanes the confidence a little bit, but you're going into it and you're going, right, we'll get back. It's the best atmosphere I've seen in years. And yes, winning helps a lot to that, but when you see the players giving absolutely 100% for 90 minutes, which is exactly what they've done.
And what sort of, when you were growing up, sort of, what was your sort of, do you remember your first football shirt? Do you remember going to your first football match? Do you remember your first Northern Ireland football moments? Who was the players that you sort of looked up to, and players that you seen and said, look, that's excellent, you just couldn't believe the football experience?
Well, the first game wasn't brilliant. I think we lost 1-0 at home to Ukraine in '96.
Okay.
And so it was. I think you remember that one. Yes. It was. I think Doyen's things were still playing, so it's still a brilliant experience. You go with your dad and your sisters and stuff, and you go on, and it's the first time you're kind of seeing it. You're in awe of the spectacle, and while Windsor wasn't a massive stadium there, you still had the shed and stuff for a couple of the stands. It's still a sort of big scale in comparison to youth football or anything.
And in terms of sort of the competition being the Ards and Down area, you must have a sort of a connection for football within that area, Ards and Down?
Yeah. Look, I played youth football from 10 till I was 18 at Cumberrec, and then I spent nearly 15 years at Cumber Young Men as well. Broke my foot. That kind of put an end to that with a son. Who's only 2 there. He's a handful as it is. Never mind with broken limbs, broken hands, or anything. So, yeah, turned my hand to golf to be bad at a different sport instead.
You wouldn't be the first footballer to end up on a golf course.
Yes,
But
maybe different skill levels.
do you think the power of business and sort of the investment that the sport needs in Northern Ireland is sort of a long way behind other countries? It's sort of the investment we need, the likes of all the great work. Without these businesses actually getting involved in sport, that would be a big, massive job. So it's important that businesses get involved in sport.
Yeah, look, it's my main goal is to kind of spread our exposure of being able to offer that to businesses in specifically the Ards and North Down area. That was one of the reasons why I came in, and we had obviously kind of concocted this idea over a coffee one day to start low level and think, do you know what way can we get it, even just for small tradesmen, plumbers, anything like that, right up to the multinational companies. It's something we can do anything for. My main kind of goal is looking at those companies, sports clubs especially, where think they're insured for something that they might not have actually thought of. They'll go, oh, that's fine, that's covered. And these things happen where they're not. And unfortunately, it leads to clubs going out of business, or clubs ending up having to go out of existence effectively. There's, even at the lowest level, there's clubs that I started playing against in my mid-20s from around Dundonald area and things, like Moe Park. Brilliant team, won the league regularly, great game against them, always had a good battle against them.
Yeah.
And small things happen where maybe players leave, anything like that, and whatever happens, whether it's insured or otherwise, you have these clubs disappearing, and it's part of the fabric of what you played against originally. So I want to do everything in my power where it's possible to stop maybe a fire at a clubhouse or something from them not actually being insured for it, or not correctly insured for it.
It's the type of thing that you don't want clubs winging it, and it's the type of thing where that clubs think it's more complicated than it seems. Where you want to make the process a lot easier. Look, here's what you need. Not giving them more than what's required, but here's what you need. Make it as easy as possible, and then that takes it off their mind, and they can focus on getting out in the pitch and doing what they enjoy doing.
Yeah, and look, it's obviously I'm from a big football background in terms of through my youth and everything, but it's every club, hockey clubs, golf clubs, GAA, whatever it may be, and it's a case of I came into Abbey at the end of June, and you send out your sales pitch email, and very bored people read it, it's grand, but
nobody likes. I don't know anybody likes insurance. Who likes insurance?
Exactly.
People. There's not a lot of people like insurance.
Nobody
It's like an
wants to
accountant.
talk.
Nobody wants to talk to an accountant.
As you said, it's a necessary evil.
But it needs to be done.
But
you know.
Yeah, look, it's one of those things where I'm looking at it. I'm not going to make it complicated.
No.
There's no point.
No
because
point.
then it muddies the waters. You come to me. I work for a broker.
Yeah.
And that's my job. Is that, look, I need
and
the
it's
right
a personalised
insurance.
approach, right? Just ring this guy, it's done.
And
That's
it's
it.
easy steps. It's 1, you come to me, look for insurance. 2, I look at what you have at the minute. 3, I streamline it, make it more effective, cover any holes. It's like having a boat. If you've got one small hole in a boat, you're going to sink eventually.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's my job
So
and my main aim.
I'm going to ask you one more question. Basically, obviously, hopefully, the Northern Ireland game does go ahead. If it were to go so, I'm going to start with yourself, Gary. Score prediction for the match: another 5-0, yeah.
2-0.
3-0 Northern Ireland. Do you want goal scores?
Anybody?
Anybody.
As long as
Two
they
OGs.
score.
As long as it's in.
As
As long as the ball's in the
score.
net.
Yeah, as long as they score. I thought we created a lot against Belarus, and we just couldn't put the ball in the net. So we're taking the positive. At least we played well, particularly the first half, and made the chances. I think again, building on the last game against Bulgaria, you know, the crowd will really be up for it. All being well, we'll be able to play the match here in Belfast, but 2-0, and I'd be
2-0.
happy with that.
Yourself, what do you think?
He's the expert, so I'll go for 2-0
You
as
go
well.
for 2-0.
And the guy scored a hat-trick the other night.
So 2-0.
Price.
So you think the 5-0's out of the question? You wait for one fight, you wait that many years for a 5-0 and 2 come along at once like a bus, no?
Well, I'd say no if it happens.
It happens. I'll get the goal difference up. I don't think that really counts, but yourself, Jack, what do you think?
Look, I wouldn't rule out a 5-0 or even a 4. If they play like they played on Tuesday night,
I take it.
against maybe what some would see as a lesser team, or Bulgaria hadn't lost, I think, in 9 matches before that. So
I don't think you'll make many changes for that starting 11.
No.
I think you'll stick with the same starting 11.
I think the
But
confidence.
you mentioned
get
the
from it.
Ukraine game. I remember that, and that was the first World Cup qualifier Ukraine ever played, because they just come in after break up with the Soviet Union, and people's lack of awareness of an opponent who are new. Ukraine, the population of that country is massive, but because we didn't want their players, we turned up and expected, sure, who are they? Their front two were Sergei Rebrov, who scored the goal, and Shevchenko, who was a golden boy,
first games,
and we thought they were rubbish,
Oh, no.
but only because we didn't know who they were.
I think we were lucky to lose 1-0, to be honest.
Yeah, they scored at the very end, and we should have beat them actually.
Yeah.
I remember that match.
That was it. I think I just left for a traffic dodging dad to get home. So, and then we heard it on the radio as we got into the car
So,
that they'd scored.
Well, we've done a football prediction. We'll do a boxing prediction. This guy's fighting 1st November at the SSE. Obviously, he's going to win. What round does he win in? You don't know.
Look, I do. I follow boxing.
Do you?
Yeah,
Do you?
been
Okay.
a few fights.
Been a few fights.
And my father was really into boxing,
Right.
and that's why I'm
Excellent.
into boxing.
So you're into all sports, really?
Football, boxing, snooker.
Snooker.
Would be my first 3.
That's your 3 big.
But I really enjoy boxing.
Yeah, enjoy the
Been to a few
boxing.
fights.
Been a few.
Rocket Ronnie's coming on Sunday. There's a competition here next week.
Right,
Yeah.
okay.
Sullivan's here.
Alright.
There you go.
Oh yes, the Northern Ireland Open. Mark Allen with Sullivan. Yeah, it's a good event. They won it from.
But as you're going on in your career, obviously you're not a young man, you want to get the job done early.
Yeah.
First 3 to 4 rounds.
I-
Right, putting pressure on you. You
I'll
know,
predict
so-
three as well.
It's all about stamina.
First 3
You know,
rounds. You're
it's
going to
all
go over the
about-
first 3.
I'm going to go 3.
First 3
I have
rounds.
the ticket answer from before.
Yeah.